This is a made-up scenario. This is not a real record of an actual cloud negotiation. The participants are not representing their normal organizations. They are in character. So any resemblance to any real people or companies is purely incidental. And no animals were harmed. Oh, so you don't need that bit. Okay. Right, over to you. If you could just introduce who you are in character, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm the IT manager. So size, scale, cheaper, faster, and hopefully it'll work when we implement it are key to my business.
I'm Helen Gourdin. I'm the CEO of Acme, and I care about shareholder return and reputation.
I'm the DP manager. Obviously, I'm here to uphold privacy, but let's hope if I win the game and drive through that.
Okay, so Mark, thank you for sharing with me your paper on the your proposal on why we should move to clouds this financial year. I have to say the paper looks pretty compelling to me. I've only read the executive summary, so I wanted to just go through a few points with you. You mentioned in there cost savings. I mean, as an organisation, we've committed to bring down our overheads by 15% next year. And I don't know if this is a typo, but you've mentioned 30 to 40% cost savings. Is that?
Absolutely,
serious?
Helen. This is where I think we need to go. If you looked in the main body of the report, I know you're really busy, and I don't like to bother you with details too much. You would have found that there's some good benchmark data there that really reinforces my belief this is where we need to go. All our competitors are doing this. We need to do this to maintain our market position. It's a bit of a no-brainer.
I mean, I'm on board. I mean, I'm very compelling. I guess when I see those numbers, I'm asking myself, is this too good to be true?
No, I think it's absolutely a robust, solid case. We did some research. We looked at a few things using Google, and we got some results.
Good research. Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced that this is what you want from your shareholders and the objectives you've got this year.
Well, it sounds like you've done your homework there, Mark. Could you just, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about, actually, Rajee, you've turned up, so that's great. We'll talk to you in a minute about risk, because I noticed you didn't mention risk in your paper, so we'll let Rajee have a moment on that in a minute. We've got the executive committee meeting coming up in September, and I'd love to be able to share that number with them. Could you do a little bit more work on getting some granular detail on those numbers? Because if you're talking about sustainable benefit to the business of that kind of saving, that is fantastic in terms of reinvestment in our high growth markets. And I can see that team meeting that you wanted to do in Vegas could be coming up next year if we can pull this off.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to cancel my vacation and work over that next weekend.
Mark, this is great to hear. And just a comment I wanted to make. We're already using cloud. I mean, you've developed this 5-year strategy and it looks fantastic from what I've seen in the exec summary. But could you just talk to me about, are we already using cloud? Some guy down in the cafe, I don't know, he mentioned something about using cloud already.
Oh, that's the HR director I think you bumped into. Yeah, I did a little proof of concept just to test things to see how it went. And so far so good. Looks pretty straightforward and easy to me. Right,
good. Yeah, Rajee, so you've presumably got something to say on the risk side.
Well, I just found out this meeting is just on in the corridor, so I just come in. This is the first time I've come to know.
Great, well, you're here now. Let's hear it.
Well, Mark, Mark, I know you've done your homework, but you forgot to ask me about cloud. You didn't even talk to me about it. I'm quite disappointed.
I actually didn't know you were part of the organisation. When did you start?
Who did you get approval to move to the cloud? And what did you put in the cloud? What's the sort of services?
What's the issue here, Rajee?
Well, as you know, Helen, I look after data privacy, and we have some concerns around moving to cloud, and particularly, I think, I'm quite disappointed we haven't really done a risk assessment.
Well, you can do that now.
But we've already moved some of this data. I don't even know what's in the cloud. I mean, what have we put? Is it the HR data you've managed to put in, or?
Nothing to worry about, Helen. Yes, it is. I went and spoke to the Chief Security Officer, who I go to for all my advice.
But security is a privacy. I mean, how many times do I have to tell you this?
Well, he tells me it is.
Well, he's not doing my job, and he should have talked to me about it, and it's too late. But anyway, this is, I just want to say, I think we need to really worry about the regulatory risks, operational risks, and reputational damage.
What's the bottom line here, Rajee? What are we talking about in terms of reputational risk? Maybe
Well, you know, they lose the HRD, we're going to be fined. We could be fined in 10 countries.
So, but how much?
I don't know, you could lose the entire savings, I think, you know, 30, 40%, 15% savings.
And is there evidence to show that, though? I mean, everybody's doing it, and we're behind the pack with our competitors. They're all doing it already. Do you tell me that they're at risk?
Yes,
Macro Group, are they at risk?
They are, but you know, the regulators haven't really found it. But, you know, the problem is, it's a reputational damage. You lose it, all of your customers are not going to come to you.
But we're not going to lose it. It's okay, trust me.
Rajee, I mean, it's great to hear what you've got to say. And I don't know if you saw this morning's FT, actually. There was an article in here, prison privacy fears make CEOs come out of the cloud. So do you want to just have a look at
Yes,
that one?
but Mark, do grab me next time you have a call with me. I mean, you know that I'm here now.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is an academic risk or a practical risk or a commercial risk, but if you could look through it.
I'll have a look. So maybe we'll grab a coffee and talk about this.
If I could just have a few words with Mark,
Sure.
that would be great.
Thanks,
Rajee.
Thanks.
So look, I'm sensing Rajee's a bit emotional about this. And, if you're seeing any blockers here, then just come to me and let me know. But you do need to stay connected and joined up with these guys. And when I see a risk with on these papers, it's good to see the word risk in there, compliance. Yeah. But if we can deliver this, then I think we're on to a great thing.
Okay.
Thanks for your work on it.
Thank you.
Scene 2, we just have to dispense with the legalities. And we're going to now see the in-house lawyer and the outside counsel from our company, Acme.
Yes, well, good afternoon. I'm Hazel Grant. I'm the external counsel advising Acme Company. My business card.
Thank you. Good afternoon, I'm Samantha Simmonds and I represent Nebulous. I'm part of the big company team and we regularly deal with large companies who are negotiating some of our cloud services.
Well, lovely to meet you, Samantha.
So this should be quite swift.
Yes. So
Yes, here's a copy
is
of
our
our...
standard... Well, hang about. I mean, these are Acme's standard terms and conditions for IT outsourcing, and I've spent a lot of time working on these, so we will be using these.
Yes, but this is much like purchasing a mobile phone, so you wouldn't really expect to sign up to something so large. Here you go. I'm sure you can just use this. Well, if we could run through our terms and conditions, they are pretty much more suited to this deal.
I'm really not sure about this. I mean, we maybe be able to put these as a sort of annex at the back somewhere in here. I mean, I'm quite happy to add a few pages to this contract, but this one is going to have to take precedence.
No, that really won't be possible. It's just very large, an outsourcing contract. We're not even doing outsourcing. It's a cloud deal. This will be fine. I think this is much more suited to your purpose. It's designed with you, the customer, in mind.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, let's use yours as an agenda. And I'll keep this one because I feel we'll be coming back to it at some point.
Perhaps, but once you see how comprehensive this is, you'll have no concerns.
I find that difficult to believe. Anyway, where do we start? Let me just think now. So, as I say, as I see it, we're just outsourcing our IT, or Acme's IT, which is what we've done loads of times before with this contract very successfully. So it should be quite simple and straightforward, I think. Do you not agree?
Simple and straightforward, yes, but it's not an outsourcing deal, actually. It's a cloud services deal, and it's more or less a SaaS contract. Software as a service, that's what the sales guys told me you're purchasing.
Oh, well,
it's our bronze package that you're going for, which includes VoIP, instant messaging, and the facility for smart metering.
Isn't that just add-ons? That's just IT, isn't it? I mean, I just sort of... Someone in the business sort of fills in this schedule at the back with the IT stuff, and that's pretty much it. So I think that's pretty straightforward. I mean, I'm not sure we need to tailor much of this stuff. I think we just run with that.
I think you should run with this one. It considers a lot of the categories of data you'll be using. The instant messaging that your HR team might be using.
Well, this is a lot of detail. I mean, why do you need to know the categories of data that we'll be handling or giving to you?
Well,
I mean, we probably don't even know, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, but we have your data center is going to be located in Spain. You've got a your public cloud located in our Spanish data center, and we've got all the security arrangements that the Spanish law places on us.
Really? But that's most peculiar. I was sure that we were told that it was all going to be provided from London in a private storage area.
Oh no, you're on the bronze package. No, that sounds much more like the silver package.
What is it with this bronze and silver? I mean, okay, so tell me about what we seem to be buying.
Well, it's the bronze package. Didn't the sales guys discuss this with you? They told me it should be a swift negotiation. They've gone through everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said it's a public cloud. Where is this public cloud, and where does this data go?
Well, we have data centers in Russia, Afghanistan, Germany, Spain, Hong Kong, Virginia.
Whoa. Virginia?
Yes, just by Washington, D.C. Yes, Virginia.
Hang about. What about this PRISM stuff?
Oh,
Are we going to be in
PRISM.
trouble here? Because the GC really won't like this. If I have to report back to the GC about this, she's going to be distinctly unhappy.
Prism, schmism. No, it's not a problem whatsoever. None whatsoever. Don't believe what you read in the news.
Really?
You know, we are free from any type of intercept like that.
Let me just write that down.
That far. I mean, you know, there may be the odd requirement, but no, I wouldn't worry about the USA Patriot Act or anything like that. I've got a guidelines on it. I'll pass that to you as well.
Oh, okay. Fine, if you say so. So you're obviously transferring data, or you will be transferring our data under this bronze package all the way around the world.
Yeah.
Aren't there some DP things that we have to do about that, dealing with international data transfers? How do we handle that then?
Well, we've got safe harbour, we've got model clauses. Again, you know, nothing to worry about. It's all covered in this.
Oh, well, that all sounds very
It's all
simple.
covered.
I'll just check that with the ICO. I'm sure they'll be happy with that.
Well, you know, yes, we've got ISO 27001, and we've got that for our data centres.
Have you?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
does that have encryption?
Well, you'll have to speak to the sales guys about that because
Really?
you know, you're on the bronze package, so the security features are an add-on.
I'm sensing a theme here. The sales guys seem to know everything. So, we might have to buy encryption separately. Let me make a note of that.
Yes, but we don't sell that actually.
So we need a second contract for encryption. So
Yes, we've got a preferred
oh,
provider.
second contract for encryption. Yes. Oh, excellent. Wonderful. Now, on to my favourite topic, which is liability. Now, obviously, Acme is a preeminent renewables company with many customers, and we're handling very sensitive data, customer usage data, payment data, HR data. We absolutely have to have unlimited liability in our contract, and that is the basis of my standard contract. So I'm hoping that you will appreciate the importance and accept that.
Right, but as I explained, we've got model clauses, ISO 27001, unlimited liability is not possible for Nebulous. Our finance director just won't go for that at all.
Well, I think you won't. I think that could be a deal breaker. I think it just won't be acceptable to Acme to go with someone who won't provide them with unlimited liability. We need that. We absolutely need to get that level of assurance to know that our risks are covered. And if we can't have that through unlimited liability, we'll need to have it some other way, and I'm not quite sure how you're going to do that.
Well, I have to warn you, the finance director has never, ever approved it.
Well, my client has never, ever approved a non-unlimited liability contract for IT outsourcing, so I think we've got a bit of an impasse there.
Okay, so how about we go for something like 2.5 times the annual contract value?
No, that's never going to work. This is peanuts, this contract. No.
Well, you have opted for the bronze service. Perhaps if you go for the platinum, that may change things with the additional encryption services and...
We'll need to go back to the business on this because this just isn't going to work. Well, let's look at some other issues and see if we can make some progress on other areas. What about audit? How do you deal with audit?
Oh no, you won't be able to audit us at all. You know, confidentiality reasons, we've got other businesses using our services. No, audit won't be possible. You could perhaps have a third-party audit, but as I say, that's more part of the silver service.
Okay, so no audit, but possibly a third-party audit at an additional cost.
Yes.
What about breaches? I mean, not that I'm sure you never really lose data normally, but supposing you were to lose data, how does that work?
Well, we have very good data breach notification procedures, and we will notify the regulators where we are a data controller. But as we'll be processing your data, there will be no need for us to notify the regulator. And an additional point is that, well, our procedure says that we'll notify within 10 working days.
10
and involve
working
you as a
days?
customer within 10 working days. Yes.
10 working days, but in some jurisdictions we have to notify within 24 hours. That will never work. That'll put us in breach of our... Oh, God, this is terrible. This is never going to work. We'll have to change that. That's having to change. I don't know.
Well, we can have a discussion about that maybe at a later date. But shall we run through some of the other provisions?
Oh, you mean the boilerplate? Yeah, let's just run through that quickly. There can't be much in there. It's only termination and stuff like that.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah. So, what's next? Which applicable law are we going for, by the way?
Shall we just say UK law and leave it as that?
Doesn't it depend on lots of different things, like the location of the data and, I don't know, the location of the companies who own the data? Isn't it a bit more complicated than that?
Yes, but we really can't be expected to work that out. We've got so many sub-processes in our chain. It's going to be very, very difficult for us to know exactly where the data is. And I think we just say UK. We're both based in the UK. We're both familiar with UK law.
Well, okay, I'm quite happy with the UK, so we'll just go with that. Let's leave it at that. But you mentioned something there that's slightly concerning. You said lots of sub-processes in your chain. I didn't see that in the description of the service. It just talked about nebulous. I mean, how does your service get provided?
Oh, well, you know, the way that cloud service providers work is that we have a number of suppliers down the chain who provide services to us, and then we sell it on to you. Not to worry about, they've all been checked. We've been through all of the due diligence.
Right. And will they be listed in this contract? Because don't we have to approve them as sub-processes?
No, there are far too many for us to include in a list to you. No, and plus they change all the time. That would not be possible. That's not realistic.
If they change all the time, how do we approve them? I mean, doesn't that make you a controller? Dare I say it?
Not at all, no.
No.
We're always a processor.
Right. Well, I think we need to see that list. We need to see that list right now. And we need to have a process for working out how it changes over time. We can't just leave it changing at your will. That's just not possible.
Well, I suppose we could speak to the technical guys, or get the technical guys to have a chat about it in their meeting.
Okay. So, whilst we've been going through this, I've seen at the back of your terms and conditions something that's caused me a little bit of concern.
Oh, yes.
That we do need to talk about, and that's some of your small print about the fact that you hold a lien over our data.
Yes.
And that you will delete our data if we don't pay within 45 days. Where does that come from?
Oh, standard procedure.
Next stop is the tech committee, and we're going to be hearing from the IT manager, the data protection manager, and the encryption provider.
So my name is Paul Simmonds. I'm the cloud security consultant that they should have brought in the first place before they started discussing it, but were too mean to do so. And instead, I've been brought in by the encryption, cloud encryption company as part of their pre-sales engagement.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for coming to this meeting at such short notice. Clearly, in keeping with the values of our company and showing respect for our colleagues and listening to opinions, I have decided we are doing this, and I'm not letting anything get in the way of this. Two things are really, really on my mind, and I didn't really appreciate your interjection into what was a meeting between me and Helen. That was a really important business deal. My trip to Vegas is the most important thing to my team this year. Morale is not good. Secondly, have you ever seen Helen in a bad mood? It is unbelievable. My predecessor is still getting psychiatric help. I do not want to be put in the same position because of stuff that the CISO has told me is okay. I mean, we've got encryption. Surely that is enough to resolve any of the problems that seemingly you've come up with.
Mark, why don't you get yourself a glass of water?
I need more than water after this. Yeah?
Listen, all I'm saying is I'm supportive. I understand what you're trying to do.
Really?
But I just want you to sit back and listen to me for a minute. Listen, you should have talked to me about this months ago. I cannot believe you engaged in cloud and didn't even tell me about it. Listen, I'm supportive. All I'm asking is give me some time to look at this risk assessment. And I've got some questions for you.
I haven't got time. Let's hear from the guy that actually knows about the encryption.
Time.
Look, tell me what I'm buying into here. What do I need to do?
Okay, look, it's very straightforward, actually. You're the data processor. You've got to take control over your data in that cloud environment. And yes, you have encryption, but it's only encryption on the link.
But who's got the key? If we're looking at encryption, who's got the key? Is it the supplier? Is it us?
Well, the worst thing you can do is give the supplier the key, because then they're going to have the data anyway, aren't
So
they?
who's
They
got
can
the key,
unlock
Mark?
it.
I mean, have we given them the key already in the cloud? I mean,
Look, I don't really have time
so
for
you
this
just
kind of
sold it and you
detail.
don't even know who holds the key?
Yeah? I pay people, good people, to make these decisions for me. Now, we've got a contract in place that deals with the key. I look to the lawyers as much as I can't stand them either. And, you
So
know,
who's got the key right now?
as long as it works, is it a problem?
I mean, it is a problem, isn't it? I mean,
It is a problem. I mean, at the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to retain the key. Yeah, so the key to the encryption you have to own. It really is as simple as that. If you can do that, actually, the rest all works.
Okay, that sounds simple enough. Is that
but
going
when
to
you
shut you
said
up?
to me the data's encrypted, what do you mean? I mean, is it encrypted in the cloud? Is it encrypted? Where is it encrypted? Is it, I mean, how do we decrypt it? How are we using it right now?
As
You
it
didn't
got
tell me.
explained to me by the provider, that it was standard encryption they were using, nobody could see it, and we should be quite content with that. And, you know, it sounds
And
all
you've given them the
perfectly
key
good.
to go with it. So
Well,
you
we've
think-
never had any problems with them. I went and spoke to some of my friends in the CIO world, and they said they were a
He's
good
your
bunch of
friend?
people. No. We know other people that use them, and they say they've never had any problems with them. So they've got lots of keys from other people.
And
They've
if-
got lots of keys. Great. So,
So
how
this should be for
how
us.
did we select this supplier? I mean, do you have some person?
We went through a rigorous application process, tenders, and they were very, very cost efficient.
Listen, Mark, all I'm saying is we need to worry about privacy risk. Security is good, but we need to worry about privacy. I think we've already made some mistakes by moving our HR data. We need to really come back and look at from the points being made. We've given them the key, so effectively the encryption, they can decrypt it and they can see the data. I think we need to step back a little bit. Let's do a privacy impact assessment. This is massive.
A what?
Privacy impact assessment. And I need about 6 months to do this, so I don't know what your timescales are. I need 6 months. I might need to get some consultants. I mean, I haven't got the time to do it. You even ask me. I mean, you've got the data in the cloud already.
Okay, I think what I want from this, and we are still doing this, by the way, is a risk
I am
paper.
not telling you can't do it. I'm just saying you have to give me the chance to do the impact assessment.
Okay, what I want is a risk paper from you that outlines what the various scenarios are you foresee and what I need to do, because this will need money, and I have to now go and see Helen. I hope she's in a really good mood, and explain why she's going to have to go to the board and we have to possibly delay this.
Listen, when I put the figures, she's not going to be in a good mood, and I think you can forget about your holiday. You're not having one.
So Mark, let me make this easy for you. Okay, let me give you a
please.
neat solution. Yeah. Key management is key, if you pardon the pun, and putting in the encryption at your side before it leaves your premise, so that you put it into the cloud encrypted, then they can manipulate it, they can do whatever they like with it, and that technology now exists. And when it comes back to you, you decrypt it as it passes through your borders. It stays within the EU. It keeps Rajee happy. It'll solve all your problems, and actually, compared to your savings, it's going to cost you very little indeed.
But wouldn't it slow everything down? And then I get grumpy managers and lines of business saying, my system's really slow, I can't order my sandwiches online anymore. What's happening?
No, if you do it with the provider on their databases, yes, it slows it down, but doing it actually as it passes through your border, no, it's transparent.
Okay, that sounds workable. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with
Good.
what you're telling me. Not so keen on what I'm still hearing from you, though.
Well, listen, that's because you're losing your holiday, but I think I will put these figures and I'll give it to you, and particularly given Helen's given me this article now that I have to read. And yes, I'll try and put some figures so you can figure out your holiday.
Thanks very much.
Now we get to scene 4. And just to make sure everybody's going to be able to sleep at night, and Helen in particular is going to be placated, and especially the data protection and other compliance people, take away all their objections, it's been decided that the outside counsel will just have a no-names phone call with the ICO.
Good afternoon, Information Commissioner's Office.
Oh, hello. Could I speak to Simon Rice, please?
Yes, speaking.
Ah, hi, Simon. You know me. We've met before at PLB conferences. My name's Hazel Grant. I'm a lawyer with Barracuda and Shark. And I'm representing a rather well-known, I prefer not to name them, renewable energy company. And they're seriously considering a really big cloud deal at the moment. So I was hoping that I could have a few words with you just to check that it's going to be compliant. Is that possible?
Yeah, of course it is. Far away.
Okay, so let's start off with what might be an easy one, really. Is there anything in the Data Protection Act dealing with international transfers that might prevent a data controller using an overseas cloud provider?
Well, I guess first of all, just to bring your attention, I'm sure you've read the ICO's very handy and informative guidance on cloud computing.
Would that be the one that you wrote, Simon?
So yeah, thinking about Principle 8, obviously there's nothing in the Data Protection Act that says you're not allowed or a blanket ban on processing personal data outside the UK or indeed Europe. But certainly that you as the data controller has got to make sure that wherever that personal data is being processed, it's in a country that ensures an adequate level of protection for the rights and freedoms of those individuals. So the obvious question really is, well, do you know where that data is being processed and under what circumstances it might be in those jurisdictions?
Well, we're getting some information from the cloud service provider, but they're not being completely transparent about this. So are you telling me that really what I need to do is press them for a full list of the countries in which the data will be held?
Well, I guess, if you don't have that information, can you be giving those assurances that there is that adequate level of protection if you don't know where your data is and under what circumstances it might go to those countries?
Okay, so step one then, I need to know the countries where it's being sent. Now, the service provider is sort of saying that that they will use model clauses and or safe harbor. Is there anything that I need to particularly know about how they're using them? Is there anything that the ICO would advise me on checking?
Well, obviously they give you possible options for sort of the compliance with that Principle 8, but obviously they're not the only possible options, because obviously there's the self-assessment route in there as well. But I wouldn't just certainly take their word for it. You'd want to make sure those model clauses, if you're using them, are correctly filled in. So obviously there's that part in the appendix where you need to be looking at the different types of personal data that are being processed. And again, can you be very sure that the types of the bits of data that are being processed are recorded in there properly, and perhaps they haven't made some changes halfway in between the model clauses. Because I'm sure you're well aware that those model clauses have to be used exactly as they are written.
Okay, so I see you mentioned their self-assessment, which would obviously be very handy if we could just use self-assessment. But I know that my client has operations in many European jurisdictions. So can you tell me, is self-assessment something that we can use in other jurisdictions, or do I need to go and ask all the other regulators?
It's something that could possibly be done. Again, depending on where the data is being held and how easy it is for you to do. If you're relying on going in and doing a physical audit yourself of their premises, then you'd have to be sure that you're happy and confident with the security they've got in place, and that might mean trying to go and visit their premises. But of course, you can also rely on perhaps a third-party audit if that's a trusted third party going in and doing that sort of assessment for you.
Okay, so yeah, you've touched on there the possibility of third-party audit, and that's something that they've definitely offered us. So So I'm guessing from what you're saying that we could take that up and that would be a good thing for us to do. But one of the other things that they've referred to on their website is that they offer military-grade 128-bit secure socket layer encryption security. Is that something that solves all our problems? Is that something I should write into the contract? Will that sort it?
Well, it's a good thing that they're using that particular type of encryption, but you've certainly got to understand what exactly is that encryption giving you. I mean, that particular part of encryption is protecting that data from interception between your users and the cloud provider itself. Any data stored on those client devices will be not encrypted. Any data stored within the cloud provider's network won't be encrypted, and doesn't provide any assurances of how that data might flow around the cloud provider's network. So again, if encryption within the cloud is something that is important to you, then you will need to go ahead and get in perhaps another product or choose a different cloud provider that offers that service that you want.
Okay. So the other thing that they have said is that they have ISO 27001 accreditation. Is that something that solves data protection problems? Is that a good thing?
Well, again, it is a good thing. It may not be the final answer. It's certainly ISO 27001 is one part of assuring that sort of security of the cloud services. But again, you've got to make sure that audit and that service is really fit for your needs and your purposes. And you fully understand the scope of what that audit is providing to you. For example, the cloud provider might say that their retention schedule, they don't have one. Data might just get overwritten as and when it's needed. But if your retention schedule says that data will be deleted after every 7 days, well, that clearly is that's at odds there. Although obviously they've got a green light from the audit. So again, just need to make sure that the audit matches up with what your requirements are. And again, if it's a security audit, that's very, very different to a data protection audit.
One of the other things that came out of the conversation, which slightly concerned me, was that the cloud service provider says that they use literally hundreds of sub-processors, and that they will find it very difficult to name them or list them, and that they will change rapidly over time. So I'd always thought that you had to list sub-processors in your contract at the very least to sort of approve them. And they're saying that's just not feasible. So how do we address that, and is that a concern?
Well, certainly need to make sure that any sort of access that there might be to your data doesn't lead to any kind of lowering of standards that you might want to hold if you were processing the data yourself. I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't leave your doors open to your internal data center and just allow anyone on the street to walk in and have a look around. So therefore, the same shouldn't happen at the cloud provider. So it's really what assurances can they give you about what sort of security measures or protection or terms and conditions that those sub-processors will sign up to. And what might happen if one of those sub-processors, if you don't agree with that company, perhaps you don't want that particular company coming in and essentially processing some of your data. You might want some clauses in the contract to allow you to terminate that contract with the cloud provider and move elsewhere.
So are you saying there could be a solution whereby we set up a process or a method of getting new sub-processors in on the contract, but we, the client, have the option to reject them and kick them out of the contract if we don't like them? So instead of approving them before they get on, we can kick them out later.
Well, you certainly want to be kept aware of who's got access to your data. Perhaps who can able to access and process your data on your behalf. It's clearly you're still going to be the data controller. So it's still your fundamental responsibility to ensure the data protection responsibilities on that.
So I think we have an issue there, because it sounds like we are going to have to get that definitive list and have that kept up to date for us. Okay. Another point that came to light, it turns out that before I got involved on this particular cloud deal, my client had already been using cloud services for various things very rashly without involving me, which was a little bit upsetting to me, as you might well imagine. And they told me that they didn't think this was a problem at all, because they simply went to the cloud service provider's website and printed off their terms and conditions when they started using the service, and they thought that would be sufficient. Is that right, or is there something that I can say to them to point out to them the foolish error of their ways and the fact that they obviously need to engage me?
Well, I'm obviously assuming that we're talking about the processing of personal data within these cloud services.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've read in the press about how some cloud providers or social networking services or services like that have just sort of changed their terms and conditions every now and again, or update their privacy policies without perhaps giving some notification. Now, so what's going to protect you and your organisation from a similar sort of set of circumstances? If you've just gone onto their website and printed off the terms and conditions, there's nothing stopping that cloud provider perhaps updating those and changing them. Perhaps, what if they get taken over? And the change in terms and conditions just get changed, and your data could move on elsewhere under someone else's ownership.
These are excellent points, Simon. I'm going to write these down and just pass them back to my client verbatim, because I think they really need to know those points, and maybe they will use me in future. But on a sort of side topic, this is a separate client, and my final question is, this is not the same client, it's a different one, who migrated email into the cloud, and now they've come to me and said they want a bit of advice about their employees using smartphones and tablets to access the email remotely. Is that going to be okay, or do you have any advice on this?
Well, again, it's very similar to sort of cloud computing. You need to look at all of the different risks and issues, and there's, again, some very informative guidance available on the ICO's website. I can't quite seem to find it on my desk at the moment, but I'm sure if you look on our website and use our very handy search function, you'll find a copy there. But again, really similar to the cloud, it shouldn't reduce the lowering of any kind of security you've got in your organisation or any existing policies. For example, if you've got opening up to any particular smartphones, can you make sure that the devices are encrypted if you've got an encryption policy for all of your laptops or mobile devices?
Okay, so basically I need to look at the second piece of guidance and point my client in that direction. That sounds like it's got some useful answers to them. So Simon, thank you very much for your advice today, and look forward to seeing you at PLB next year.
No, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.